The unbreakable seal. The galaxy was filled with whispers of an ancient chamber sealed long before any modern empire was born. The place stood silent at the edge of a forgotten world. A towering gate of black stone covered with strange glowing lines. No tool, no weapon, and no technology had ever managed to open it. Aliens from every corner of the galaxy had tried. Some brought their strongest warriors, some their wisest scholars. Others used explosives powerful enough to destroy cities. But the seal stood firm, unbroken, untouchable, and so the legend spread. They called it the unbreakable seal. They said behind the gate rested either treasure that could make a race powerful forever, or a horror so terrible that the ancients locked it away for eternity. The truth was unknown, and that mystery gave the seal both fear and respect. One day, a small human expedition ship landed near the site. The aliens who already camped there laughed when they saw the humans. They were seen as a young species, weak and untested. Many alien leaders believed humans were nothing more than bold dreamers playing at exploration. Among the humans was a man named Ethan. He was not a general, not a scientist of great fame. He was only an explorer, someone who chased forgotten ruins and old stories. When he stepped down from his ship and saw the seal for the first time, he felt something stir inside him. The aliens mocked. "You think a human can do what we could not," one hissed. Another said, "We have tried for centuries, and you arrive with your soft hands and foolish hope." Their words made others laugh, but Ethan did not answer. He only looked at the seal, silent and steady. The gate was huge, taller than any temple. Its carvings pulsed faintly like a heartbeat. Most aliens had studied the symbols but found nothing. But Ethan noticed something different. The patterns were not random. They looked like pieces of a puzzle, lines curved like rivers, circles linked like chains. The others grew bored watching him. They believed the human would fail quickly, but Ethan kept studying. Hours passed, his eyes followed every mark. His hands brushed against the cold stone, and then, as his skin touched one of the glowing lines, the seal flickered. It was only for a moment, but everyone saw it. The crowd gasped, the light dimmed, then returned stronger. The aliens who mocked him before now stared with wide eyes. One whispered, "Impossible, the seal has never moved for anyone." But Ethan said nothing. He only pulled back his hand slowly. Heart beating faster, he thought of leaving, but a strange feeling told him the seal was alive in some way. It was waiting for something or someone, and maybe, just maybe, that someone was him. The night grew cold. A storm rolled over the barren sky, but Ethan could not sleep. He returned to the seal, standing alone while others hid in their tents. He placed his palm again against the strange marks. This time he pressed harder, but nothing happened. He sighed, ready to step away. Then a sharp stone cut his hand. A drop of human blood fell onto the carved line. The seal shivered. The symbols blazed bright as if they had waited ages for that single drop. The ground trembled. Dust poured from the cracks. The camp awoke in chaos. Aliens shouted in fear. Some ran to their weapons. Others fell to their knees, crying out in prayers to forgotten gods. "Stop!" One of them screamed at Ethan. "You will kill us all." But Ethan was frozen. The seal was alive, responding to him alone. For the first time in thousands of years, the gate began to sing. A low hum echoed through the valley, a deep, powerful sound that made the bones of every creature shake. The air grew heavy, like the weight of the universe pressing down. Ethan stepped back, his wounded hand still glowing faintly. The seal pulsed like a heartbeat, and then it stopped. The glow faded. The trembling ended. The gate was still sealed, but now every eye was on him. Aliens surrounded him, their voices filled with anger and fear. "What did you do? How did the seal answer you? Are humans cursed?" But Ethan could not explain. He only knew the truth deep inside. The unbreakable seal had chosen him. As the stars moved above the dark world, Ethan stood silent before the gate, his mind full of questions. Why him? What waited beyond the stone, and why had all others failed? The night ended with whispers, whispers that would spread across the galaxy. Whispers that said, the seal that no alien could break had finally answered, and it had answered to a human. The human key. The morning after the seal reacted, the camp was no longer calm. Aliens who once mocked Ethan now looked at him with fear and suspicion. Whispers filled the air. Some said he was chosen. Others said he was cursed. Leaders of different species gathered, their voices sharp. They argued whether the human should be thrown out or forced to break the gate. Ethan stood silent, his wounded hand still wrapped in cloth. He remembered the glow, the vibration, the strange song of the seal. It felt like the gate had spoken to him, not with words, but with a presence that touched his soul deep inside. He knew the seal was waiting for something only humans carried. An old alien scholar named Theros approached him. His eyes were full of wonder. "Not fear," he whispered. "The seal has waited for blood, for courage, for a spirit willing to face what lies beyond." "Maybe your kind was always the missing key," Ethan asked. "But why humans? We are nothing compared to your empires." Theros smiled faintly. "Sometimes the smallest stone breaks the mountain." That night Ethan returned to the gate alone again. He studied the carvings more closely. The patterns were not random. They formed shapes like rivers and stars. He noticed that when he traced them with his finger, they pulsed faintly as if guiding him along a path. The more he followed, the clearer it became. The seal was not just a lock. It was a puzzle. Not one of strength, but of understanding. Every alien before had tried to break it with power, but the seal wanted patience, trust, and something else. Something that belonged only to humans. His thoughts were broken when a group of alien guards arrived. Their weapons pointed at him. "Step away, human," their leader barked. "You bring danger, you bring chaos, the seal must remain closed." But Ethan did not move. He felt the gate respond as his hand lingered on the glowing lines. For the first time, he spoke with courage. "You tried for centuries and failed. Maybe it was never meant for you. Maybe it was always waiting for us." The guards hesitated, fear in their eyes, because even as he spoke, the seal pulsed brighter like it was agreeing with him. They dragged him away from the gate. But before they could lock him inside his tent, a rumble shook the valley. The carvings on the seal flared with white light. The sound of the humming song returned, louder, stronger. The entire camp froze in terror. And then, clear as a whisper, a voice echoed from the gate. "Human," it said, not in words known to the galaxy, but in a language Ethan somehow understood. His heart pounded, his breath caught. The voice was inside his head, calling him. Aliens screamed, they covered their ears. But only Ethan heard the message. "Blood has answered. Courage will unlock. Come back to me, child of Earth." The words filled him with both dread and determination. The next day, the alien council met in haste. Leaders from different species argued again. "The seal is dangerous. It must never be opened," one shouted. "If it reacts to the human, then let him finish what he started," another replied. Voices rose, threats were made, weapons drawn. The camp stood on the edge of civil war. In the middle of the chaos, Ethan stepped forward. He raised his hand and said quietly, "The seal is not about your power. It is not about your fear. It is about something deeper, something that humans carry." They laughed bitterly, but fear trembled in their voices because even as he spoke, the seal behind him glowed faintly in response. One of the alien warriors, desperate to prove himself, charged at the gate. He slammed his weapon against the stone, but instead of breaking, the seal lashed out with a wave of dark energy. The warrior was thrown back screaming. His body burned with strange marks. The crowd gasped in horror and many eyes turned back to Ethan, for the gate had not harmed him. Only the alien who defied it now. Whispers grew stronger. "The human is the key. Only he can open it," others hissed. "If he opens it, we all die." That night, Ethan returned once more. He pressed his bleeding hand against the seal. This time the light did not fade. The patterns glowed brighter, linking together, a chain of stars forming a path toward the center. And the gate spoke again. "You are close, human. Only one step remains." Ethan pulled back, trembling. His hand burned with strange marks now glowing faintly under his skin. The seal was binding him, marking him. He realized this was no longer about choice. It had chosen him, and whether he wanted it or not, he was now the human key. The curse awakens. The camp no longer slept peacefully after the voice spoke through the seal. The aliens could not hide their fear. Many wanted to flee. Others wanted to kill Ethan before he touched the gate again. But none dared to go near the seal now. They had seen what happened when the warrior tried to strike it. They had seen the fire marks burning into his skin. Ethan sat alone, staring at his hand. The faint glowing lines spread slowly across his veins like silver fire. He tried to scrub them away, but they remained. Every beat of his heart seemed to carry the seal deeper into his blood. The old scholar Theros returned, his face pale with both fear and awe. "The seal has chosen you," he whispered. "But beware, human, the ancients did not lock away treasure. They locked away something they feared." Ethan asked quietly, "Then why does it call to me?" Theros shook his head. "Because sometimes the galaxy chooses its hero without asking if he is ready." That night, against all warnings, Ethan returned to the seal. The sky thundered with storms. Lightning cut the heavens. He pressed his hand once more to the carvings. The glow erupted like wildfire, spreading across the entire surface. The ground trembled as if the world itself was waking. Aliens rushed from their shelters. Weapons raised, the hum of the gate grew louder, turning into a deep roar, and then it happened. The seal cracked for the first time. A thin line split down the center, spilling out a blinding light, but the light was not gentle. It was a wave of energy that swept across the valley. Alien machines died instantly. Ships went dark. The air filled with screams as shadows poured from the crack. Dark shapes twisted like smoke. Whispering in forgotten tongues, the aliens panicked, firing their weapons at the shadows, but nothing harmed them. The shadows slipped through armor, through skin, draining strength. Feeding on fear, the camp became chaos. Ethan stood frozen. Yet the shadows did not touch him. They swirled around him, circling like predators around prey. But instead of attacking, they bowed. Their whispers grew clearer in his mind. "You are the blood key, the chosen hand, open. Open." His chest tightened with dread. He realized the curse was not just inside the gate. It was waiting to be freed, and he was the door. The council screamed at him, Close it before it is too late." But the seal no longer listened to them. It pulsed only with Ethan's heartbeat. His mark burned hotter, pulling him closer. Suddenly the shadows pulled back, and from deep inside the crack a voice spoke again, stronger, clearer. "Free me, human. I have waited for you. I am not your enemy. I am your ally." The crowd gasped. Some aliens fell to their knees, believing a god had spoken. Others raised their weapons, swearing to end the human before the gate fully opened. Ethan's mind was torn. The voice was gentle, almost kind, yet the shadows screamed of danger. He looked at Theros. The old scholar shook his head violently.
"Do not trust what was locked away by the ancients."
Nothing good was sealed in chains, but deep in Ethan's heart, something else stirred. He remembered the mocking words of the aliens, how they laughed at humans, how they called them weak. Now the seal itself reached only for him, only his blood, only his courage as the storm raged above. Ethan placed both hands on the seal. The crack widened. The light grew blinding. The roar shook mountains, and then came the scream, not of pain but of awakening. From within the seal, a figure began to form, a towering shadow with eyes like burning stars. Its voice thundered, "At last the chains break, and the galaxy will remember my name." Aliens collapsed in terror. Some fled into the night, others fell silent in despair. And Ethan stood trembling before the awakening curse, his mind burning with one truth: he had opened the door, and whatever stepped through would change the galaxy forever. The truth revealed, the crack in the seal widened with each thunderclap. The shadows pulled back into the gate, swirling like a storm around the forming figure. Aliens screamed, their voices lost under the roar of energy. Ships trembled, weapons failed, and all eyes turned to Ethan, the human who had unleashed what no one else could. The figure stepped forward, still half hidden in light. Its outline shifted between shadow and flesh, then slowly it took shape. A tall figure with silver skin and eyes that burned like suns. It was neither male nor female, but something greater. Its presence crushed the air, making the strongest warriors fall to their knees. The being looked at Ethan. Its voice was deep, yet soft. "Child of Earth, you have freed me." The words slid into his mind, heavy yet strangely warm. Ethan's knees trembled, his mouth dry. "Who are you?" he whispered. The being raised its head. "I was once queen of the ancients, ruler of stars. They feared me. They betrayed me. They sealed me away. They told the galaxy I was a monster, but I was the guardian. The protector of balance," the alien shouted in rage. "Do not believe her. The ancients locked her because she brought death," others cried. "She lies. Destroy her before she consumes us all." Weapons were raised again, but none dared to fire because the seal still glowed. Feeding her with endless power, she turned to the crowd, her voice echoing like thunder. "Your ancestors feared strength they could not control. They feared justice, they feared freedom. So they buried me in stone, hoping time would erase my name." Her eyes blazed. But this human, this small, fragile human, dared to touch the seal, dared to bleed upon it, and in his courage, he has broken the chains of fear. The camp erupted in chaos. Some aliens fell to their knees. Worshipping her as a god returned, others screamed in terror, swearing to kill both her and the human. Council leaders fought among themselves. The fragile unity of the galaxy cracked under the weight of her return. Ethan's mind raced. Could she be telling the truth? Was she a guardian betrayed or a monster disguised in light? The mark on his hand burned brighter. The seal's energy still flowed into him, binding his life with hers. Theros the scholar grabbed Ethan's shoulder, his voice urgent. "Listen to me, human. The ancients were cruel, yes, but they were also wise. They would never seal away hope. They only sealed what could destroy everything. If you trust her, you may doom us all. Ethan looked back at the being. She stepped closer, her presence towering yet strangely gentle. You feel it, do you not? The bond between us, I cannot harm you. Because you are the key, I do not seek your death. I seek your strength with you by my side. The galaxy will rise into a new dawn. Her words wrapped around him like silk. A promise of greatness, a promise that humans, once mocked as weak, could stand at the center of the stars. But the fear in the eyes of the council told another story. They believed if she rose again, millions would die. The storm outside grew darker. Lightning struck the ground, splitting stone. The seal behind her cracked further beyond the gate. Ethan saw not emptiness but a vast prison, walls of energy holding back entire armies of shadows. An army waiting for her command. His chest tightened with dread. If she was freed completely, the shadows would pour into the galaxy. Her power would be unstoppable, and yet her eyes softened when they met his. I chose you, Ethan, because only humanity carries the courage to break chains. Your kind was born from struggle, from fire, from survival against all odds. You are not weak. You are the proof that even the smallest spark can light the stars. The words cut deep. For the first time, Ethan saw his people not as outcasts, but as something the galaxy could never understand. But was this admiration or manipulation? Theros shouted over the roar. Do not listen. She speaks honey but carries poison. Close the seal, Ethan. Close it before her chains fall away. His voice broke with desperation. The queen raised her hand, the shadows bent in silence. Her power wrapped around the camp like an invisible hand, and she whispered, Choose, human. Open the seal fully and stand as the savior of your people, or walk away and let the galaxy drown in its own decay. Ethan's heart pounded. Every alien eye was on him. The queen's army of shadows waited. The council trembled. The galaxy itself seemed to hold its breath. And Ethan stood at the center of it all, a human explorer now forced to decide the fate of countless worlds. Humanity's mark, the storm above, reached its peak. Light split the sky. Fire rolled across the horizon. The seal cracked wider, spilling endless light and shadow. The queen stood tall, her silver skin glowing like molten stars. Her eyes locked on Ethan, waiting for his choice. The council shouted over each other. Destroy her now, one cried. Free her. She is our salvation, another begged. Weapons clashed, voices turned to threats. The fragile order of the camp crumbled into chaos, yet in the center of it all stood Ethan. Silent, trembling. His hand burned. The glowing mark spread across his arm. Every beat of his heart pulled the seal closer to breaking. The queen's voice slid into his mind like velvet. Do not fear, Ethan. Together we will bring a new age. No empire will mock your kind again. Humans will stand above all. Her words stirred something deep in him. He remembered every insult, every sneer of aliens who saw humans as weak. Every moment humanity was treated as children in a galaxy of giants. And for one breath, he imagined what it would be like to prove them wrong, to rise with her and make the galaxy bow. But then he looked around. The shadows pressed against the walls of the prison, eyes glowing, teeth gnashing, an army waiting to be unleashed. He saw terrified alien children clutching their parents, soldiers gripping broken weapons with hopeless eyes. If he opened the gate fully, millions would burn, not just enemies but innocents. The queen stretched her hand toward him, her voice soft but heavy with command. You are the key. Child of Earth, open the seal, become my chosen. Together we will carve humanity's mark into the stars. Ethan's hand shook as he raised it. The seal glowed brighter, the final lines unlocking. Aliens screamed, some begged him to stop. Theros the scholar shouted louder than all. Listen to your heart, Ethan, not her words. Humanity's strength is not in conquest, it is in choice. Prove to the galaxy that courage is not power, courage is sacrifice. His words struck Ethan like a blade. Memories of his people flashed in his mind. Not their weakness, but their resilience. Humanity had survived cold, fire, hunger, and endless wars not by ruling over others, but by enduring, by standing together. That was their true mark. Ethan turned back to the queen. Her silver eyes narrowed. She felt his doubt, her voice sharpened. Do not betray me, human. Without you I remain in chains. Without me your people remain forgotten. Choose wisely, for this is your one chance to rise. Ethan stepped forward. His glowing hand touched the final symbol. The gate roared like a beast breaking free. The queen raised her arms in triumph, but then Ethan did something no one expected. Instead of pressing deeper, he pulled back. He slammed his bleeding hand against the first mark.
Not to open, but to reverse, the seal screamed.
The light flickered violently. The queen's eyes widened in shock. What are you doing? She thundered. Ethan shouted with all his strength. I am human, and humanity's mark is not domination. It is the courage to do what no one else will, even if it means standing alone. The seal roared like a collapsing star. Shadows screamed as they were pulled back. The queen lunged toward Ethan, her hand inches from his face, but the mark on his arm burned brighter. Chains of light wrapped around her body. Dragging her back into the prison, she screamed. Her voice shook mountains. You fool, without me the galaxy will fall to the greater darkness. You have doomed them all. Her words echoed as the crack sealed shut. The light dimmed, the shadows vanished, and silence fell. Ethan collapsed to his knees, his arm still glowing faintly. The mark etched forever into his flesh. The camp was silent. Aliens stared at him not with laughter, not with mockery, but with awe. Theros stepped forward, voice shaking. You did what none of us could. You resisted power, you resisted fear. You showed the galaxy that humanity carries something greater than strength. For the first time, aliens bowed to a human not because of fear, but because of respect. Ethan rose slowly, his eyes still fixed on the sealed gate. He knew her words were not lies. There was another darkness out there, something even she feared, and when it came, humanity would stand at the front. Because now the galaxy knew humans were not weak. They were the mark of courage. The storm faded. Stars broke through the clouds. The unbreakable seal slept once more. But the legend had changed forever. And at its center stood one human, who dared to defy both gods and monsters and left humanity's mark on the galaxy.